Welcome to today's Explainer. Look, if you are trying to cut through the noise and genuinely understand the tech landscape, you are in the exact right place. Today, we are tackling a massive misconception in the business world. Honestly, if you ask almost anyone, they'll probably tell you that business analysts, and data scientists basically do the exact same job. Like they just all stare at spreadsheets all day, right? Well, absolutely wrong. While they do all work with data to improve a business, their responsibilities, the tools they use, and the specific problems they solve couldn't be more different. So let's just dive right into this and clear up the confusion once and for all. To really understand how these roles function, let's set the stage with a quick scenario. I want you to imagine you're running a massive online shopping company. Thousands of customers are visiting your website every single day and things are going great. But then, disaster strikes. You wake up on a Monday morning to find that your sales have suddenly plummeted by 15%. Boom. Alarm bells are ringing, panic is setting in across the management team, and the clock is literally ticking. So, facing this critical business emergency, who exactly do you call? Like, who do you hire to fix this? Well, this is exactly where our three heroes come in: the business analyst, the data analyst, and the data scientist. They are all going to collaborate on this issue, but as you'll see, they're going to approach this exact same 15% drop from three completely different angles. Here is our quick roadmap for today. 1. The business analyst. 2. The data analyst. 3. The data scientist. 4. Putting it all together. And finally, 5. Choosing your career path. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The business analyst. The problem solvers.
When that 15% sales drop hits, the business analyst does not immediately dive into the databases. They don't open up complex dashboards. Instead, their immediate focus is strictly on the business side of the house. They act as the ultimate bridge between the business stakeholders, think the VP of sales or maybe customer service, and the technical teams who are actually going to build the solutions. They want the context. Which departments are screaming the loudest? What are the customers actually complaining about? Did the company just introduce a new change that might have triggered all this? Instead of immediately asking, hey, what does the data say? A business analyst is completely obsessed with one guiding question. What problem is the business trying to solve? Their whole mindset is anchored in understanding the human and process elements of the business way before a single line of code is ever written. Because this role is so heavily communicative, their daily checklist is super collaborative. They're constantly in stakeholder meetings, doing requirement gathering. They spend their days writing up business requirement documents and functional requirement documents, basically the blueprints. They map out processes, write user stories, and define acceptance criteria. In short, they meticulously document the exact problem and clearly define what the developers need to build to actually fix it. And because their job is all about organization, process mapping, and bridging gaps, their toolset totally reflects that. They heavily utilize project management and documentation software, stuff like Jira and Confluence. You'll see them using Visio and Lucidchart to map out those really intricate business processes. And sure, while they might use a little bit of SQL or Power BI, their primary arsenal is really designed to translate complex business needs into clear, actionable plans. Okay, so the business analyst has mapped out the problem and the processes. But inevitably, upper management is going to start pounding on the table demanding hard facts. They are going to ask exactly what happened to our sales last month. And that perfectly sets up the entrance of our second hero. Section 2. The data analyst. Uncovering the truth. While the business analyst is the master of processes, the data analyst steps in as the analytical expert who uncovers the absolute truth about the past. They answer those burning management questions by transforming massive amounts of raw information into meaningful insights. They collect, clean, analyze, and visualize historical data. Going back to our 15% drop in sales, the data analyst is the one who digs into the numbers and discovers the specific facts. For instance, they might find out that sales dropped specifically in the South region, or maybe that mobile users suddenly started abandoning their carts right after a recent pricing change. To answer the what, where, when, and how often, their daily tasks involve writing complex SQL queries to pull the right numbers. A huge chunk of their time is just spent wrestling with messy data sets to ensure accuracy. And honestly, anyone who has ever stared at a chaotic, unformatted spreadsheet can deeply sympathize with that. From there, they build dynamic dashboards, generate reports, find hidden trends, and ultimately present these awesome visual insights to management. Their toolkit is heavily geared toward querying databases and creating visual stories to stop the guessing game entirely. SQL is their bread and butter. They practically live in visualization tools like Power BI and Tableau. and you'll often see them utilizing Python or R to handle more rigorous data manipulation. They take the guesswork completely out of the boardroom by showing exactly what happened on a clear, indisputable dashboard. All right, so we know what happened in the past, thanks to the data analyst. But a business doesn't just look backward, right? What happens when the CEO asks a completely different kind of question? What happens when they ask which customers are likely to stop purchasing next month? Now, we are shifting from historical analysis to future prediction, and that requires an entirely different, highly specialized skill set. Section 3. The Data Scientist, Predicting the Future. This brings us to the highly technical architect of the group. A data scientist completely moves past simply explaining what happened yesterday. Instead, they solve complex analytical problems to forecast what is likely to happen next. They are the ones who build intelligent solutions to predict customer churn, detect fraudulent transactions before they even happen, or create advanced recommendation engines and AI-powered chatbots. They don't just report on the business, they actively build intelligent systems to guide its future. As you might guess, their daily routine is intensely technical. They spend their days deep in mathematics, statistics, and programming. They're building predictive models, training machine learning algorithms, engaging in feature engineering to make their models smarter, evaluating model performance, and even diving into deep learning. It is heavy, complex, and highly specialized work. And naturally, their toolkit absolutely reflects that advanced technical demand. While they still use SQL to get their data, their world revolves around Python, R, and powerful machine learning libraries like TensorFlow, PyTorch, and scikit-learn. You'll usually find them experimenting and coding inside Jupyter notebooks. This is an advanced toolkit specifically designed for creating the predictive AI solutions that give modern companies their competitive edge. Section 4. Putting it together. Collaborative solutions. We have the process-oriented business analyst, the historically focused data analyst, and the predictive data scientist. Let's synthesize this in the real world using a side-by-side comparison. Let's look at a real company, like Netflix. Imagine Netflix notices user engagement is suddenly declining. The business analyst kicks things off. Their focus is the business. Their core task is gathering requirements, so they ask, why are users watching less, and what business changes do we need? Their output is a requirements document. Next, the data analyst steps in. Their focus is the data itself. They analyze the viewing logs and create a dashboard showing that, hey, users are specifically stopping after the third movie recommendation. Finally, the data scientist takes that insight. Their focus is AI. They use machine learning to build an entirely new predictive recommendation model to serve better movies to the viewer. See, 3 distinct roles, 1 single business problem, 3 totally different perspectives. Think of it like a medical diagnosis. I call it the data doctor metaphor. The business analyst is the doctor, asking the patient about their symptoms, really understanding their pain points and concerns. The data analyst is the lab technician, reviewing the blood work and test results to pinpoint the exact underlying cause of the sickness. And the data scientist? They're the specialist who looks at all those patterns to predict future health risks and actually prescribe the preventative AI treatment. They function seamlessly together. Different responsibilities for sure, but all working toward the exact same goal of making better decisions. Section 5. Choosing your career path. Find your fit. So, we've covered the theory and the application. Now, let's pivot directly to you. How do you find your perfect fit? Well, if you are someone who genuinely enjoys interacting with people, leading meetings, planning projects, and you prefer tackling strategic business problems over writing lines of code, the business analyst role is probably calling your name. It's actually a fantastic path toward becoming a product manager, too. On the other hand, if you love working with numbers, get a thrill out of finding hidden trends, and want a really great balance between business strategy and technology by building dashboards, you are a natural data analyst. Finally, if you are genuinely passionate about heavy mathematics, advanced statistics, deep programming, and the idea of building complex AI and machine learning systems just excites you, the data scientist path is exactly where you belong. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final empowering thought. We've seen how they work, the incredible tools they use, and the massive impact they have. The reality is, the data world doesn't just need one type of thinker. It literally requires all 3 to survive and thrive. So the only question left for you is, which problem do you want to solve?